What's up, everybody? It's another installment of the Fantasy Brothers. I'm here with Lil Spence. We are on episode 9, man. So it's almost like we're becoming veterans at this now. But the NBA season is finally upon us. We're in day 2 of the NBA season, which means NBA fantasy has officially started too. Me and Spencer are co-managing a team. In a Yahoo league that it's a high stakes league, so hopefully try and win some money. But we're gonna start off with some fantasy football, and then we'll wrap up the show per se with some fantasy basketball analysis, and just kick the shit a little bit.
Sounds good. So we're gonna do start 'em, sit 'em, right? Just a guy at each position.
Yeah.
Start and a sit.
Yeah, let's do the start 'em, sit 'em. And then we'll just kind of take it from there.
All right, so I'll start with my quarterbacks. My start of the week is Andy Dalton, and they're coming off a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, a pretty heartbreaking one. I like to see them bounce back. They're playing the Chiefs. I'm not saying that they'll win, but they will have a good showing, and basically every game the Chiefs have played has been a shootout, and there's always a lot of opportunity for points to be scored. And Cincinnati is actually a very good team this year, and they have every making of a playoff team, and I like to see them show that against the Chiefs, and I think Andy Dalton will be the beneficiary with A.J. Green and all the weapons that he has, so that's my start of the week.
Yeah, my start of week, I'm looking at Mr. Jared Goff going against the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco. Just after seeing the Niners just get gashed by Aaron Rodgers and the receiving core of the Green Bay Packers, I think Jared Goff is in for a big day. He will be missing probably his number one threat, Cooper Kupp, this week. But, I mean, even with Cooper Kupp going down, they have Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, and not to mention, I mean, probably the number one guy up for MVP right now, Todd Gurley. I look for this to be a high-scoring affair, but essentially I do think that the Niners still lose by double digits. And Goff, we've seen him, what week was it where he went off for 6 touchdowns? I think it was week 3 or 4. He's perfectly capable of these big games, and I really like him this week for sure.
For sure. I'm not going to go against Goff, especially against a compromised Niners team. So we'll see. My sit of the week is actually Cam Newton. And
Cam?
Yeah, it's Cam. They're going to Philadelphia, coming off a loss on the road. Cam actually plays pretty well on the road. But just looking at what quarterbacks have done against Philly recently, they played. Kirk Cousins only had 14 fantasy points. Eli Manning, even though he's cheeks, had 9.2 fantasy points. Andrew Luck had 13.9. Matt Ryan played them the first week, had 8.8. Only quarterback that's really had a game to write home about was Mariota. And he had like 30 points that game, and that's definitely an outlier for Mariota, so I don't even know if we can count that game. But quarterbacks have struggled against the Eagles, and I think Cam Newton has a good game, but if you have other options, I'd probably roll with them this week, in my opinion.
I feel you. The guy that I'm going to go as a sit-em is coming off a huge week going before the bye week, Drew Brees. We see him going into unfamiliar territory in Baltimore. Drew Brees notoriously struggles on the road, and he's going against not only the best run defense in the league, but one of the best secondaries in the league as well. I just think the Baltimore Ravens make life tough on Drew Brees. I think he probably passes for 275 to 300, but I think he might throw one touchdown, but also have multiple interceptions, which is uncharacteristic of a Drew Brees performance. But it's a very tough matchup for him away from the dome. And if you have like say a Jameis Winston, Mitchell Trubisky, on the waivers or even just in your lineup, I would actually go with one of those two guys or a guy like, comparable, just because I don't like the matchup with Drew Brees this week for sure.
I mean, going up against that stingy Baltimore defense, especially in Baltimore, he is Drew Brees, but still, that's a tough matchup. So I can agree with that. Moving on to running backs, my stardom for the week is Mr. Tariq Cohen.
Tariq Cohen.
It is, especially in PPR leagues. And the reason why is just his last two games, he's had at least 23 fantasy points. I think the last game he had 30, and they're starting to finally use him in the right way. They've seen that he is literally Tyreek Hill out the backfield, and he's much better than Jordan Howard. And Jordan Howard, I don't know if they're just not using him the way they did last year, if he's just not fitting the system, but he has not been producing. Tariq Cohen is the better back. Tariq Cohen deserves more of the starts.
All right, hold up. So, not so fast, my friend. Not so fast. I mean, you're talking about the last 2 years, a guy that's been top 3 in rushing the last 2 years. He's gonna get it going. He's had a slow start, yes. And Tariq Cohen is a gadget back. He's not an every down back. He's not. You can't say he's the better back. I mean, I have to stop you right there. Have to.
So you're saying that Jordan Howard averaging 3.5 yards a carry is better than Tariq Hill?
I'm not saying he's better.
Tariq Cohen. I call him Tyreek Hill almost.
No. I'm not saying he's doing better than not Hill, but Cohen. But I'm saying Howard is definitely a more capable back, 3-down back than Cohen, and a better overall back than Cohen. Yes.
Are we talking about we're talking about fantasy football.
We're talking about fantasy football.
And we're talking about the guys that can get you points.
I'm not gonna say this week per se, but overall, you're wrong. That's what I'm saying.
Overall, Tariq Cohen is the better fantasy back.
Hell no.
PPR especially.
No.
How? I mean, dude, just look at.
I'm telling you right now how. I mean, Cohen is nice, but he will get figured out. Just like you were throwing shade on freaking Chris Thompson. Talking about him being fool's gold. Cohen is the same guy.
No, he's not. Oh my gosh. We'll see. So you're telling me Cohen having 7 receptions for at least 90 yards the past 2 games has just been, it's been just a fluke. Nah.
Okay. I mean, when I was saying the same thing about Chris Thompson, you call it fool's gold.
Tariq Cohen was one of my sleeper guys from the beginning of the year.
All right, so you're admitting your bias. Thanks.
I'm not admitting my bias. It'd only be biased if he wasn't backing it up. Because this guy is backing it up. And for you to be hating on him because you have Jordan Howard in your league, that's bias. Anyways, look at Chris Thompson's numbers and look at Tariq Cohen's numbers for this year and tell me who the better back is. Yeah, thanks.
I'm just saying Chris Thompson has been struggling with a few injuries, but we all know what he's capable of. We saw what he could do last year.
Tariq Cohen, this is his second year in the league. They're finally letting him play the way they need him to play, and he's been a beast. So stop with this bullshit, because dude, he has like 430 yards from scrimmage in 5 games, and they literally have just started using him correctly the last 2 games. Like, this guy could literally have 1,500 all-purpose yards from scrimmage by the end of this year. Mark my words. Just watch on Sunday.
All right, I'll be watching.
I know you will. Who's your stardom?
My stardom goes by the name of Corey Clement. I can't say has a favorable matchup against the Panthers run defense, but he's getting healthy. He's coming off a pretty damn good day, almost 70 yards with a touchdown to add in 3 receptions. I really like Corey Clement. I've been high on this guy all year, especially if he gets the opportunity. Right now, he's splitting work with Wendell Smallwood, and who knows when Darren Sproles is coming back. He's been hurt since week 1. Um, I who knows when he comes back, but the back to play and the back to own is no doubt Corey Clement. He's the more efficient back. If you watch the game against the Giants, he was just shredding them. I'm not gonna say his usage. I mean, he only averaged about 4 yards a carry, but still got the touchdown. But he broke a few long runs, few long receptions. He just looked like the better back, and I think after a week's rest, he's going to be good to go. I think he's probably going to get anywhere from 12 to 15 touches this week, and we've seen the big play potential with him. I think he's going to make the most of it, and hopefully he finds pay dirt this week.
For sure. Clement, I like his boldness. They were Eagles GMs and higher ups were talking about, there are rumors about trading for McCoy, trading for Bell. Clement went up there and said, "Coach, we don't need another back. I got this." So I like the juice right there. My sit-em guy for this week is Dalvin Cook. He participated in practice, full participant as of Wednesday. Looks like he's going to play in this game, and it's not because Dalvin doesn't have talent and doesn't have potential for a big game, but it's just we got to see how healthy he is. If you don't have any other options, I understand, but we got to see how healthy he is first, and he's going up against a pretty stingy Jets defense. I would just be wary of him. I'm not going to say he didn't even look like the Dalvin of old in his other games. He did get some good reception yards and a couple receptions, but just be wary of Cook this week.
Yeah, I agree. I can't really say this guy's a sit-em, but he's a guy I'm definitely not too high on. He has been finding the end zone with regularity the past 3 weeks, but I'm not high on David Johnson going against Denver.
Me either.
Denver has gotten gashed the last 2 games, one by Isaiah Crowell and of course by Todd Gurley. We all know that was coming, but I think they're gonna buckle it up on defense in Denver, and they're gonna. I think Denver actually gets up on the Cardinals, and David Johnson's gonna if he's gonna be utilized, he's gonna have to be utilized in the pass game. And I'm looking at his receiving numbers; they're just is not anything like the David Johnson of old. Rosen is still figuring out how to get him the ball, and I just personally don't think that he's gonna be in for a big day. I think he's going to be a very touchdown dependent play this week. But if you have David Johnson, you probably spend a first round pick on him. You're probably not going to sit him, but I'm more speaking from a daily fantasy perspective. And who knows? Your team might be deep, and you can't afford to sit David Johnson. I definitely would. So,
yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of David Johnson this year. He doesn't. They're just not as threatening on offense as they were in previous years. Josh Rosen's looking a little better, but until something can come off the top of that defense consistently, David Johnson's going to continue to get bottled. And it's just great that I play him in one of the major leagues this week, so I'm happy about that. Yeah. Anyways, my wide receiver to start. Obviously, you're starting this guy no matter what. Even if he's playing the Rams, if he's playing whoever has a great defense. But I think he's going to be the number 1 receiver this week. That's OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. They're playing a very susceptible Falcons team that has been going through injuries, that has been having to put up close to 40 points just to get a dub. Even when they put up almost 40 points, they still don't get dubs. So I just see him being able to exploit that matchup. After going through his little interview last week, the Giants owner was like, I'd rather him make headlines with his play on the field than with his mouth or whatever. And I kind of have a problem with that because everything Odell said was true. Eli is trash. We know this. But I feel like Odell does best when there's drama surrounding him. And there is some drama surrounding him. And so I really do think that equals great performances from him. Playing on Monday night in front of on the biggest national stage for football there is, in my opinion, for a regular season game. And he's been on this kind of like one game on, one game off production where he has like a great game, then an okay game, and all signs are pointing to this being one of those great games. So OBJ, number one receiver this week. You heard it here first.
Yeah, my number one guy. Actually, I'm gonna say number one guy is the Baltimore Ravens receiving core, meaning John Brown and Michael Crabtree. I think both these guys have chances to really go off on the Saints defense. I think the Saints are going to struggle, and Joe Flacco is going to have ample opportunities to push and drive the ball down the field. Michael Crabtree is definitely coming off his best game as a Raven. Last week he had 6 receptions for 93 yards and a touchdown. And as he looks to build on that performance, we already know John Brown has been spectacular for Joe Flacco. He's definitely their deep threat. He's been able to stretch the field on numerous occasions. He's been somewhat quiet the last 2 games, but the 3 games before that, he was averaging over 90 yards. 90 yards a game and had 2 touchdowns during that 3-game span. So if anything, I look to see him get back on track and against a susceptible Saints secondary, because we do know the Saints have a great run defense. The Saints have a great run defense this year. So I think they're going to definitely be relying on the arm of Joe Flacco to win this game. Yeah, that's some stats for your ass.
We'll see, man. I mean, I'm looking at Crabtree's numbers. He did have his little coming out party last week, but before that, it was very unimpressive. But I do know I know the kind of receiver that Crabtree is. We just got to see him and Flacco get on the same page, and maybe that was the page turner. So we'll see. And then John Brown, same kind of thing. Him and Flacco were on the same page the first 4 games, and they've been kind of off the last 2. So we'll see, man. They're returning back home. They usually play better at home, so we'll see. I was just fucking with you. But my sit-em guy is Michael Thomas.
Thomas.
Yeah, and of course
there's
you can't
no
sit
way
Michael
you can't
Thomas.
Sit Mike.
I know. I mean, I'm completely aware of that. There's no way that you're gonna sit Mike Thomas. This is simply just guys that I don't think will live up to what their draft position would be. I guess it's kind of the wrong, not necessarily sit him, but I don't think he's gonna do as good as his average. And of course he'll still produce, but I just think he draws a tough matchup at Baltimore. And yeah, of course you can't sit Michael Thomas. I know that, but I feel like he won't have his typical numbers, and that's the only thing I'm glorifying right here. I just think that Jimmy Smith, that group of corners and safeties are gonna be keying on him, and might open things up for people like Cameron Meredith and Benjamin Watson and all those other guys. But I think Michael Thomas has a pedestrian game for his standards, which could still be like 7 receptions for like 80 yards. But if you are going up against Michael Thomas and he does that, you're happy. So, that's my take.
All right. Well, even though this guy had a great game against one of the best corners in the game last week, I'm not that high on Mr. Devin Funches this week. The reason being is Greg Olsen is getting closer to 100%. And I think that Cam trusts Greg Olsen more in the red zone than he does Devin Funches. And Devin Funches is, honestly, he's touchdown dependent. If he's not scoring a touchdown, he's not getting a heck of a lot of receptions. He's not getting a heck of a whole lot of yards. So I really think Greg Olsen going forward is going to be cutting into his production. And I just don't see him having a big game against Darby. I mean, Darby's just as good of a corner as Norman, in my opinion, and I just think he's going to have a tough time. I think, if anything, they're going to be attacking the middle of the field, and that's prime Greg Olsen territory. What?
All right. You were saying how I'm biased about Tariq Cohen. You are trying to LeVar Ball speak some shit into existence right now. and manifest Greg Olson having a big game.
Dude, I
And
have
I'm
Greg
not.
Olson in one. I have Greg Olson in one league. You ass. I mean, I'm just speaking some facts for yourself. Devin Funches is not as efficient with Greg Olson on the field. Do your homework. He's
Dude,
just not.
I do know this, but you can't come in here saying that Greg Olson, his second game back, is going to cut into Funches's just production right now. Like, I honestly think Funches is trending on the up. I have Funches in a couple leagues, so maybe I am a little biased too. But I agree with you that Funches is touchdown dependent. But I don't think he's gonna have just a stinker of a game. Like he could have a
I don't
pretty
think he's
decent
gonna be a
game.
stinker, but I think he's gonna have maybe 4 or 5 receptions for 60 yards and no touchdowns. In PPR, that's not even double digits. Not that good of a game.
I think he has a touch.
Okay, of course you do.
Yeah, I really do.
All right. Well,
He's
agree to
prime
agree to
red zone threat.
yeah. I mean, maybe without Greg Olson, but what do I know?
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, let's get into tight ends. All right, my guy to start is the main man George Kittle. The only tight ends with more yards than Kittle are who? Travis Kelsey and Zach Ertz. That's great company. And the Niners they do have a tough matchup. Who do the Niners play this week? They play the Rams, so they do have a pretty tough matchup. But I see the Rams getting ahead on them early, and they'll be playing from behind for most of the game, which will open up the field for Kittle. Even if there are some garbage points, I see Kittle double digit points easily. Possible touch depending on what red zone opportunities they get, but I like to see Kittle have another nice game.
Okay. Well, my
You
guy,
you agree or you disagree with that? You
I
pause for a
like
minute.
Kittle. I like Kittle. He's gonna be nice. Let's just see how healthy he is and see if he can honestly, that's the biggest issue with the Niners. They just need to get healthy. I mean, Kittle's banged up, Breda's banged up. I mean, they got several key guys out for the year. I
Yeah,
mean,
dude.
they
Most
just need to
unlucky
get
team.
healthy. So
Unluckiest team.
I'm going back and forth on this one. Of course, I would want to go Greg Olson because I just talked him up, but I'm actually going to go one step down and David Njoku. David Njoku is on the up. If he was in the stock market, he'd be bullish. You would want to buy right now. David Njoku has been trending up for the last 3 weeks, and he finally found pay dirt last week with he had 7 receptions for 55 yards and a touchdown. But one of the best stats that I've seen the last 2 weeks, over the last 2 weeks, he's had 23 targets. 23 targets. Um, I mean, like 23 targets is a ton for a tight end. I mean, that's like Greg Olson. I mean, that's not. Sorry, that's like Gronkowski and Kelsey numbers from a target or Ertz. So if he can translate that into receptions where he catches maybe 3/4 of the targets thrown to him, I mean, you're talking about big games, and he's literally, in my opinion, the only legit red zone threat that they have. He is going to at least get 1 to 2 passes in the red zone. Actually, I'd probably say 3 to 4 passes in the red zone a week. So, you know, I love this guy. I've been high on this guy since the beginning of the year. He had a pretty slow start, but ever since Mayfield took over, he's been trending up, and I think I see him continue to trend up in a favorable matchup with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they give up a ton of points to tight end, so he's a must play.
Yeah, I like that pick. I love Njoku. He has just gotten better and better since his first year and into this season. Even another guy to watch out for, in my opinion, is OJ Howard. I actually like OJ a lot this week. Anyways, to get into my situm is Jordan Reed, and if you're like me, you drafted Jordan Reed to be your tight end one, a difference maker at the position. and he hasn't been that so far. That's not to say that he can't be that, but him and Smith need to get on the same page, or they need to figure out some ways to get the ball to him because he's kind of just been declining ever since his first game. He had a pretty good first game, 4 receptions, 48 yards, and a touch, and then he followed it up with a 6 receptions for 55 yards, which is a decent game in PPR. But then after that, he's kind of just kept falling. Even had a 1 reception game on only 2 targets against the Saints for 21 yards. Like, you got a weapon like Jordan Reed. Why is he only getting 2 targets? Like, they got to make a concerted effort to get him the ball. And until I see that, I don't have that much confidence in him. My other tight end is on the bench is on bye right now. So it's kind of like I have no other choice. But until I see something from Reed, if you have another guy that you drafted, like a Kittle, like, anybody that you got kind of late that can produce, I would go with them, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I know I've been seeing him being shopped around throughout all the leagues I've been in. So we'll see what they can do. But in my opinion, he's the Redskins' best receiver. Alex Smith just need to figure out how to get him the ball. I mean, if you were watching the game last week, he made an unbelievable one-handed catch. I mean, it only went maybe 8 or 9 yards, but still, he's that kind of player.
Immense talent, man.
Yeah. So my sit-em this week, he's been injured for the last 3 weeks. He's in a favorable matchup, but he's playing on Monday night. He's coming off a pretty bad knee injury, and I'm a big believer in I want to see at least one game before I'm trusting putting you in the lineup unless it's a guy that you just can't live without, and that's Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram's coming back from an MCL strain, and I mean he practiced today. He said he felt good. He's coming into a very favorable matchup where it's going to be a glorified shootout. I just personally want to see just one game. If he can tear it up this game, which he very well, if he's healthy, he very well could. But if you have a guy that you've been plugging in or a capable tight end that you could plug in right now or that you've been using in place of Evan Ingram, I would, unless he's outside the top 10, I would probably go out start him this week. So that's just my personal opinion. I'm hoping Evan Ingram makes me eat those words because I have him in the league and I have literally no choice. My next choice is Cameron Brate, and with a healthy OJ Howard, Cameron Brate is, you want to talk about touchdown dependent. He had 1 target for one catch that went for a touchdown. We're in a game where Jameis Winston threw for over 400 yards. That kind of just tells you right there, I can't depend on that guy. So I got to go Ingram. But if you have a capable backup, I would definitely look that way just so you can kind of see the sample size before rolling with him going forward.
For sure. Ingram, we got all the talent in the world, freak athlete, but I agree. I'm not a big proponent in just throwing guys out into the lineup right after they come off an injury, especially when he hasn't been even playing that stellar like before he got hurt. He was playing pretty good, but not.
Yeah, he had that one game against the Cowboys where he went 7 targets, 7 receptions for 67 yards and a touchdown. But the game he got hurt, he was actually in line to, start going off. He caught a really good catch where he got hurt. I think it was like a 20-yarder, and then he got hurt, and you didn't see him the rest of the evening. But
I sure hope that opens the offense up for Eli, maybe, man, because we know how much Eli loves the tight end, and not having his starting tight end might have impacted them a few for these last few games. But we'll see. I'm excited to watch that Monday night game.
Yeah, I'm tired of giving Eli passes. He needs to get his thumb out of his ass and start playing football.
This is Eli's last year. We know this.
Yeah.
He might as well start with the Kobe Bryant farewell tour. So, anyways, look, I just want to touch on my favorite player like I always do because I just am fascinated by this story. That's Le'Veon Bell. And so there were reports that he was going to show up this week, I guess, because the Steelers are on bye this week, and be with the team, practice with them, and then have a week of practice under his belt, then go into next week ready to play. So I guess he'd really have 2 weeks of being in the facility and everything like that. But turns out he has not even reported or plan on reporting to the Steelers this week, and has not even been in contact with Mike Tomlin or any of the coaching staff. And I'm just like, there really is a possibility that Le'Veon doesn't play this whole week. Like, I mean,
Well,
this whole year.
yeah, this whole year.
And obviously,
Do
James
not
Conner
accept trades for Le'Veon Bell until you hear some type of positive news.
Yeah, I mean, I got off Le'Veon Bell in every league, and that literally hurt my heart a little bit because I wrote Le'Veon Bell to a few championships, and not to have him on my team is you kind of grow an attachment to these players, and you can't do that. If they got a situation like Le'Veon's, get the most you can out of them, especially if your team's struggling, and keep it pushing, man. It's just a player. But I just see, man, James Conner, I'm keeping him in what leagues I got. I'm not getting off him. I think there's a very good chance Le'Veon could sit out this whole year, and Conner would be the beneficiary of that. So, I don't know, man. It's a weird situation.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen a situation like that hasn't had any coverage, like with any reports coming out of it or any news coming out? Like, it's
Oh, I
crazy.
mean, Le'Veon's keeping it tight-lipped. He's keeping it tight-lipped, and I personally think that if there's not good news on Monday, that he very well could be sitting out the rest of the year. If he doesn't report Monday or Tuesday next week, he's definitely not playing next week. And even if he comes back, it's going to be a straight up committee,
It would be a
and
committee at this
he's
point.
going to
Yeah.
be an RB2 at best. So don't, guys, don't accept any trades. I got people are trying to wheel and deal Le'Veon Bell right now, and I'm just miss me with that. I'm I'm not taking Le'Veon Bell.
Word. Well, anything in the football realm that's catching your eye, or you want to go to basketball?
Well, it looks like LaShawn McCoy is not going to be an Eagle. It looks like the Eagles are staying with their, committee of three. Um, I think it's safe to say Patrick Mahomes is real deal. I think Mitch Trubisky, real deal. I think Mitch Trubisky has shown that, kind of like Jared Goff, has shown that I think he's a elite quarterback in the making. I really do. He's shown that he can extend plays with his feet. He's making all the right throws down the field. I mean, it's a shame they lost that nail biter in Miami. They have a stout defense behind them. They have a running game. They have weapons on the outside. The Bears are for real. They're for real. I can't say they have any like glaring weaknesses. They just don't have any just besides maybe on their defense, they just don't have any just bona fide stars on their offense. They have a good offense, but not a great offense. But they have a great defense, which honestly, that recipe typically can propel you to the playoffs. So I'm just interested to see more.
Yeah, and the thing that I want to talk about real quick is how about Brock Osweiler? Let's give Brock Osweiler a little bit of credit.
Wait. Let me give him some credit, bro. We've seen Brock Osweiler play good in spurts. We've seen him have a great game. He's
Good.
trash. He's
Okay.
trash.
Did I say that he wasn't trash? No, no one said that he wasn't trash. I'm just saying, dude, we should give him some credit because no one has been shit on more than Brock Osweiler. At least, maybe not last year, but definitely the year before last. When he got signed to the big ass contract with the Texans, Texans didn't want him. He went back to the Broncos. Broncos didn't want him. And now he's with the Dolphins and played the stingiest defense in the league and came out with a dub. I mean, threw 3 touchdowns. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. A couple of them were lucky. Albert Wilson did all the work on the 2 that he caught, and then I mean, he did throw a ball that would literally like hit a defender in the helmet and like was a completion to another receiver. So like, he must have been saying his prayers that night or something. But I don't care, man. This is the NFL. He got to win. Threw 3 touchdowns, and for a guy that's been shit on for so long, I got to give him a couple hand claps for beating the Chicago Bears. That's it. Not saying he's a bona fide starter or to pick him up in leagues, but just give the man a little credit.
All right, I'll give him credit. I'll give
All
him
right.
credit.
Let's move on to NBA, though. I just wanted to say a couple of performances that really impressed me today. And the Magic beat the Heat. Pretty good team. And the Magic looked damn good, man. Like, Bamba is
Aaron
the
Gordon.
truth. Aaron Gordon, I was going to say, at 26, 16, and 2 on a very efficient game. The Magic look like they got something to work with, man. They're tall, long, athletic, young, and they beat a pretty good Heat team.
And they got depth.
And they got depth.
I mean, they got Mo Bamba off the bench. I mean, Mo showed out. I mean, let's not be mistaken. The Heat were a little shorthanded, and you know, I think, but hey, not to take anything away from the win. Good win, Magic. Good win, Magic. A performance that really stood out to me. It's actually the game is still going on, so maybe I shouldn't talk about it yet, but I'll just bring up his name, Devin Booker. I mean, real efficient, hitting shots. Um, Devin Booker had himself a game, but a guy that a team that I want to talk about real quick, my Houston Rockets. We look like we took a few steps back. James Harden looked underwhelming. Anthony Davis just did exactly what he wanted. Mirotic, just obliterated us. Oh, and look, Julius Randle off the bench, 25-8 and 3. Oh, and also hit 2 trays. I mean, guys, is the power forward position just that detrimental? I mean, like, who's playing power? Damn,
no one.
Yeah, we have PJ Tucker playing power forward, so pretty understandable why we get blasted. But it is what it is. I think we have something to build off of, but I don't know what Coach D'Antoni's thinking. You gotta start Carmelo Anthony. You gotta get him going early. He's not a bench player. He's not supposed to come off the bench. You got James Ennis starting over him.
Why is James Ennis starting?
I mean, that's disrespectful, D'Antoni. Disrespectful.
It won't
Eric Gordon's a 6 man. You can't have 2 6-mans. Like, straight up.
Yeah, and I mean, just getting into that, I wanted to talk about Davis because he was my next guy that had an amazing game. I mean, not only did he lead his team to an impressive win against the Rockets on the road, I mean, dude, he had 32 points, 16 boards, 8 assists, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. Like, that's fantasy superstar. That's MVP type numbers, obviously. And, dude, I mean, the Pelicans, I mean, this the first game of the season. Don't buy into the hype just yet. But, dude, they made the playoffs last year. They look even better this year. And so, watch out for the Pelicans, man. I mean, they're in the tough West, but who's to say that they can't be a top 5 seed, So we'll see what happens, man. I'm really interested to see how that team develops.
Well, dude, who I loved was Peyton.
Yeah, I know. Peyton was balling.
I'm telling you, the new recipe for the NBA is to have 2 point guards. 2 point guards. Or should I say just 2 playmakers?
2 playmakers. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I mean, that's the recipe the Lakers are going with. That's the recipe that the Rockets are going with. That's the recipe the Thunder are going with. That's the recipe that the Jazz are going with.
I mean, the Warriors been had that.
Yeah, Warriors been having it. I mean, that's how you do it. The only team that I can say that's not doing it is that's a powerhouse is probably the Celtics. Celtics and the Raptors. I don't think they're doing it either, but a lot of teams are doing it, and a lot of teams are finding success with it. So it's very interesting to see how that starts to play out.
Yeah, another last guy that I want to mention is and team is the Knicks. Of course, they played a very shitty Atlanta Hawks team, but they blasted them by
Blasting them.
19. And Tim Hardaway Jr., a guy that I thought was going to be pretty nice, showed out, man. I mean, 31.6 boards, 5 assists. Cantor looked nice with an efficient game. And the player of the game or that no one was talking about is Alonzo Trier. How in God's name this man went undrafted is beyond me. I mean, watching what he did at Arizona, like this dude's a walking bucket, and had 15 points, 4 boards, 2 blocks first game. Was a pretty efficient game, and watch out for him. He might be in one of the best undrafted rookies in the league this year. So we'll see, man.
Yeah, I like Trier. But we also know Trier shown how inconsistent he could be in Arizona. But I mean, he was killing it all preseason, and he's carrying it into the regular season. So let's just see how long he can keep it going.
For sure.
Well, guys, that's our show for the day. We definitely plan on making a few more posts going forward. Yeah, just keeping all up to date with not only NFL but NBA stats. But stay tuned. Hope y'all enjoyed the show, and we'll definitely see y'all next week.
Yeah, guys, and don't be afraid to comment on the videos, comment on the Instagram posts. Any question you have, shoot us a DM. We'll try our best to answer it. Basketball, football, or if you just want to say thanks, chop it up, whatever, man. Just chop it up with us. We'll chop back. So appreciate y'all listening.
Take care, guys.